Hey babes, today we're diving deep into the wild ride that is MAC Cosmetics. Grab your favorite MAC lipstick and settle in, because we've got a lot to cover. What's up, beautiful people? Today we're spilling all the tea on MAC Cosmetics. You might think you know this brand, but trust me, there's so much more to the story. We're talking drag queen beginnings, AIDS activism, celebrity collabs, and yes, even some messy controversies. So if you're ready for a makeup history lesson with a side of drama, let's get into it. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Let's set the scene. It's Toronto in the early 80s. Reagan's in office, MTV just launched, and two fabulous men named Frank are about to shake up the beauty world. Now, everybody and their mama thinks MAC started in 1984, but I've got the insider tea. MAC actually began in 1981. Makeup Art Cosmetics was born as a makeup counter in a fancy department store called Simpson's, but here's the gag. They weren't even selling their own products yet. These two Franks, Frank Angelo and Frank Toskan, were partners in business and in life. Frank Angelo was this super successful hairdresser who had already made waves with his unisex walk-in hair salons. Frank Toskan was a photographer and makeup artist who was all about that creative life. They started by selling other brands' professional-grade makeup. Their target audience, their friends in the drag scene, photography world, and other creatives who needed that high-pigment, long-lasting glam. We're talking performers, models, and yes, lots of drag queens. But here's where it gets interesting. In 1984, they started developing their own products. Why? Because the exchange rate made it too expensive to keep importing the brands they were selling. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. So, what made MAC stand out? Let me break it down for you. 1. Inclusivity was their jam from day one. We're talking makeup for all races, all genders, all ages. In the 80s, that was revolutionary, honey. 2. Their products were pigmented AF and lasted forever. Perfect for performers, drag queens, and anyone who wanted their makeup to make a statement. 3. They hired a diverse staff, including men in makeup. Y'all, this was not the norm back then. MAC was out here breaking barriers. 4. While everyone else was doing that 80s shimmer, MAC was all about that matte life. 5. They sold individual colors instead of pre-made palettes. This let makeup artists create their own custom kits. 6. Their packaging was sleek, black, and professional. It was gender neutral before that was even a thing. But it wasn't just about the makeup. MAC created a whole vibe. Their stores were like the cool kids' hangout. They had makeup artists who looked like walking pieces of art, and they encouraged customers to experiment and express themselves. Now, let's talk products, because you know your girl loves her MAC goodies. In 1985, they dropped Russian red lipstick. This matte red lip became legendary when Madonna rocked it in her Vogue video. But here's some tea. Madonna was already a MAC fan before this. She even asked to keep the MAC products used on her for a photo shoot. But the real star of the show, Studio Fix Foundation, launched in 1992. This baby worked with both skin tone and undertone, which was a game changer, especially for people of color like me. Y'all know how hard it is to find the right foundation shade. And let's not forget about some other iconic products. MAC Lip Glass. This super shiny gloss was everywhere in the 90s and early 2000s. Paint pots. These cream eyeshadows are still a pro favorite for their long-lasting formula. Prep Plus Prime. Fix Plus. This setting spray is like magical makeup glue. Ruby Woo Lipstick. The perfect red that looks good on everyone. MAC was also known for their limited edition collections. They collaborated with everyone from Barbie to Hello Kitty to Selena. These collections would sell out in minutes, creating major FOMO. But MAC wasn't just about selling makeup. They were about making a difference, and I love them for that. In 1987, they started supporting AIDS charities. They donated products and artists for AIDS fundraising events called fashion cares. This was during a time when AIDS was still hugely stigmatized, so this was a big deal. Then in 1994, they launched the Viva Glam lipstick line. Every single penny from these sales went to AIDS charities, not just profits, the whole price tag. Can you believe that? A makeup company giving away all the money from their best-selling product? That's crazy. And who was the first face of Viva Glam? RuPaul, honey? A drag queen as the face of a major makeup brand? MAC was truly ahead of its time. Over the years, Viva Glam has featured some major stars. Elton John, Mary J. Blige, Lil' Kim, Ricky Martin, Christina Aguilera, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Ariana Grande, Miley Cyrus, and get this. As of 2019, Viva Glam has raised over $500 million for HIV/AIDS causes. That's not just putting on a pretty face, that's making a real difference. Now, in 1994, MAC made a big move. They sold 51% of the company to Estée Lauder. I know what you're thinking. Arnell, did they sell out? But let me tell you why this happened. MAC was blowing up, but they had two big problems. One, they needed money to expand globally. Two, they were dealing with a ton of counterfeit products in Asia. They needed help, and fast. Estée Lauder came in clutch. They bought 51% of MAC for $38 million. But here's the tea. They were smart enough not to mess with MAC's identity. They kept the AIDS fund going. They didn't change the brand image, nothing. They just gave MAC the resources to grow. By 1998, Estée Lauder owned 100% of MAC. Sadly, this was after Frank Angelo passed away unexpectedly in 1997. Frank Toskan left the company soon after. Under Estée Lauder, MAC expanded like crazy. They went from being in a handful of countries to being in over 120 countries. They became the go-to brand for fashion weeks around the world, but it hasn't all been smooth sailing. Let's get into some drama, because MAC hasn't been without its controversies. First off, let's talk about that Estée Lauder acquisition. Some die-hard fans felt betrayed, like MAC was selling out. The way they revealed it in Estée Lauder's IPO in 1995, girl, it was messy. People felt like they weren't being transparent, which is ironic for a brand that built its reputation on authenticity. Then in 2012, MAC made a decision that had a lot of people side-eyeing them. They started selling in China, which meant they had to allow animal testing as required by Chinese law. For a brand that was proudly cruelty-free since day one, this was a big deal. A lot of ethical consumers and longtime fans were not happy, honey. Now, let's talk about some product drama. Remember the Vibe Tribe collection in 2016? MAC got called out for cultural appropriation with that one. The packaging and marketing gave major Native American vibes, but there was no collaboration with Native artists or communities. Not a good look, MAC. And don't even get me started on the 2017 New York Fashion Week controversy. A black model, Naomi Campbell's little sis Munyi, posted a video of a MAC artist saying they didn't have foundation for dark skin. At New York Fashion Week? Come on, MAC, you're supposed to be the inclusive one. In 2020, during the Black Lives Matter protests, MAC, like many brands, posted in support of the movement. But they got called out by some of their own employees for not practicing what they preach when it comes to diversity in their corporate offices. And let's not forget about the ongoing debate about MAC's prices. As drugstore brands have stepped up their game, a lot of people are questioning whether MAC is worth the splurge anymore. So where's MAC at now? They're not the hot new thing anymore, but they're still a powerhouse. They're what the business folks call a cash cow. Steady sales, loyal customers. But here's the tea. MAC has been struggling a bit in recent years. Their sales have been going down, and they've had to close some stores and let some people go. In 2016, they announced they were closing 100 stores worldwide. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. 1, competition is fierce. There are so many new brands out there, especially indie brands, that appeal to younger consumers. 2, the makeup trend has shifted towards a more natural look, which isn't really MAC's strong suit. 3, their social media game isn't as strong as some of the newer brands. 4, they've been slow to adapt to the influencer marketing trend. But it's not all doom and gloom. MAC is still a go-to brand for many makeup artists and drag performers. Their pro discount program is still popular, and their products are still known for their quality and pigmentation. They've also been trying to adapt. They've launched some more skincare-focused products. They've started doing more collaborations with influencers, and they've even lowered some of their prices. So what's next for MAC? Honestly, it's hard to say. The beauty industry is changing so fast, and brands need to be quick on their feet to keep up. MAC needs to figure out how to stay true to their roots while also appealing to a new generation of makeup lovers. They need to up their social media game, maybe do more collaborations with younger, diverse influencers. They also need to address some of the ethical concerns that have come up in recent years. Maybe they need to reconsider their stance on selling in China or find a way to be cruelty-free again. One thing's for sure, MAC can't rest on their laurels. They need to innovate, but in a way that stays true to who they are. They built their brand on being inclusive, creative, and professional quality. They need to find a way to translate that for a new era. So there you have it, fam. The unfiltered story of MAC Cosmetics. From underground sensation to beauty empire, with all the highs and lows in between. MAC changed the game in so many ways. They made makeup inclusive before it was cool. They weren't afraid to be bold and different. And they used their platform to make a real difference in the world. Sure, they've had their struggles and controversies, but show me a brand that's been around for 40 years that hasn't. The real test will be how they move forward from here. What do you think? Is MAC still relevant? Do you still use their products? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into beauty history, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Until next time, keep slaying.